Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be continuing our underused Pokemon series in Metagross, as you can see on your screen right now, guys. So there's really two main builds when it comes to Metagross, at least the way I look at approaching it in Regulation F. And the first one being the more traditional, you're going to pair this with the balance pieces. And I think that's been done really well. And I don't know if I can really add anything to that. You guys can see it on the screen right now. I will leave the creator link down below. I will leave the team report down below as well. The team report is in Japanese, so unfortunately I will not be able to translate that one for you guys. But if you are interested, I do encourage you guys to check it out. However, today we're going to focus more on abusing the ability to get the +1 with Metagross and not being able to get intimidated back. So I am going to pair it with Gouging Fire. This was kind of my first instinct thought when I said, how do I want to make Metagross work? And getting the +1 is phenomenal. You have Clear Body, so not only are you not getting intimidated, you're getting around all the, the icy wind in the metagame right now. And I think that's really nice. Electro Web is another big one too. You're just not losing speed or attack stat, so being able to get a Howl up, get the +1, and stay at +1 feels very strong. I'll get to the Terra type in a bit. It's really going to depend on how I build out the rest of this team. And I think the only thing I'm pretty set on is Heavy Slam, Bullet Punch. Those two are guaranteed. Stomping Tantrum is phenomenal ground type coverage. It also punishes stuff like Fake Out or Sleep Turns as well, if you can pivot that properly. And then, of course, Psychic Fangs. Normally I would say, having a psychic move isn't very good. However, screens have started to pick up. We see that Okidogi team as well that's done well at the past few regionals. So I think Psychic Fangs makes a lot of sense, and it's just really strong stab on Metagross in general. So we'll get into that in a bit, but that is a very solid start. This is kind of the foundations of what we're looking at with the Metagross. My idea initially was Dragon, because I should be able to get the +1 and then click Bullet Punch to kill the Fluttermanes. Right, so it shouldn't matter that I'm a Dragon type, and Dragon gives me better resistances overall. So I think I am going to try Dragon. I do worry a little bit about getting pinned by Fluttermane Landorus or something like that. So I do have to keep an eye on it. But for right now, we're going to go Dragon. And then we're going to go with pretty much your stock image Gouging Fire with the booster energy. And, your Heat Crash, your Breaking Swipe for physical support. Howl, like I said, we got to abuse that Howl into the Metagross. And then we have to go either Burning Bulwark or Protect. Because we seem a little bit weak to Amoonguss immediately, I am going to go Protect. Just because it feels like a more consistent option as opposed to, clicking Burning Bulwark and then getting put to sleep anyways. So I'm going to go with Protect just for consistency purposes. But feel free to test out Burning Bulwark if you guys try to take this team for a spin. And I think Fairy's probably consistent in terms of Terra on this piece, especially if we go Dragon onto Metagross. So I think these two work really well together. And now we have to worry about Landorus. Landorus is one of the key things that would normally give this team problems. And I think this is a perfect spot for Ogre Pond Water, right? It's one of the best Pokemon in the game for a reason, in my opinion. I stand by and support Ogre Pond Water consistently. Very good. Adds to that special defense element that we don't really have on this team. But we get that made up special defense, right? Because we get to Terra, you get the special defense boost. You get to click Ivy Cudgel for big damage. You get to click Horn Leech to get recovery. You get Follow Me. The fact that I can potentially crit every move, the fact that I can click Horn Leech for recovery, I can click Follow Me, it's so good. And it fits so well on this type of team as well. So Ivy Cudgel, Horn Leech, Follow Me, and it's just going to be that spiky shield. And we are 100%, the only thing I know for certain, going faster than Landorus. Not Timid Jolly, sorry. The only thing I know for sure is we are going to sit at least at 169 to outpace all the Landorus's, because that is the entirety of this point. Right, we want to be faster than Landorus. We want our Ogre Pond dealing with Landorus. Right, we're probably going to put a decent amount of attack as well. I want to be able to go Gouging Fire Ogre Pond into a Landorus lead, click Howl, Ivy Cudgel, and just take a KO. Right, especially if they have Intimidate on the board. I want to be able to get back to neutral, Ivy Cudgel, and get rid of Landorus. Right, I think being able to have that kind of pressure with this kind of concept is very strong. Now, the main concern I have now is if Ogre Pond loses speed control, we get into a spot where, let's just say, we got the Terra Fairy here. We can't really Terra out consistently of Landers. Like, we're still weak to Landers. As great as this first three are, right? And synergy wise, you know, we got fire, water, we got fire, water, grass, fairy, we got dragon, steel, and then we tear it into a fairy type. There's still a lot that we said, and sludge bomb kind of wrecks our team if we're not careful, right? Obviously, yes, Metagross covers, so we want to have that patch to that sludge bomb. And in this case, yes, it can be Metagross, but I want something that's not going to lose immediately to the earth power after. So finding that piece gets a little tricky because Landorus is that quote unquote balance breaker. It is exactly that. So it really just comes down to how you want to close this team out. I think it should be Fluttermane because it's pretty consistent anyways. And then you get to go like choice specs, I'd imagine. Right? This is starting to look like the James Evans build with the King Gambit from Vancouver last year. So that's technically maybe something we can model this off of. But I think definitely I like, you know, I think Specs Fluttermane still puts on work. I know it doesn't necessarily like beat the Sludge Bomb allegations, but it is something that's faster than the Landorus and can give us that spot where, you know, okay, we can Icy Wind into Heavy Slam maybe. Obviously, I have to figure out my speed tiers on Metagross for that, but there is something to go with there, right? So I definitely think I like the concept of Fluttermane. We'll go Moonblast, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, and I think it's Icy Wind on a team like this. The team still appreciates having that fourth move. It is a Specs Flutter, guys. You don't click the fourth move on Specs Flutter. Like, you rarely will. So I think we're okay with this. So I'm going to go Terra Fairy just because the concept would be get into a position where, you know, you get Terra Fairy and you start sending things. The other thing we can do is technically Shenpao if we are really that concerned about Landorus. I don't dislike Shenpao here either. It's that extra boost to Metagross. It's not really concerned where it's like Metagross, Gouging Fire and Shenpao are great. They lose to Intimidate. Metagross helps deal with that. This team in the current moment in the meta with a Shenpao I don't think is very strong, unfortunately. Just because there's so much Intimidate cycle, but I wonder if Metagross fixes that. Right? If Metagross fixes this, Shenpao with a Focus Sash gives us a lot of ability to get through a lot of turns, so I don't hate that, right? So we'll go Shenpao, we'll go, I think it's supposed to be Crash, as much as I want to go Ice Spinner. Actually, can I go Spinner? Can I go Ice Spinner? I think I almost could. Because that gets us around, like, the Trick Room stuff, too, and then we can Bullet Punch through that, so I like that. I'll go Ice Spinner, Throat Chop, no, not Throat Chop, I like Sucker Punch, sorry guys, Sucker Punch, Sacred Sword just for consistency and protect, guys. I think you want to go Terra Ghost. Once again, just something that can get around the Fake Out in this case, because there's going to be a lot of cycles that we don't like to see with Shenpao, and getting Fake Out cycled by Incineroar sucks. So having that ability to maybe break out of that should help. And now I definitely think we want that one last piece that I think not only can help deal with Incineroar, but also, you know, kind of keep that just overall, break those balancy cycle teams. And I think, unfortunately, once again, it has to be Landorus. I tried to stray away from, like, the balance concept here, but Landorus is just so good. We have the item slot for it, and I think we get to go Terra Poison as well, which is very nice. So you just get to go, you know, why is Sludge Bomb first? That should be criminal. Anyways, Earth Power, Sludge Bomb. It could be Sandsear Storm here. Like, in all seriousness, it could be Sandsear. Just to get aggressive, I don't really see a reason to be Substitute in any way, shape, or form. So I think I'm going to go Sandsear just for consistency. And then I'll go with Protect. But just big damage overall. Just like both damage into both slots is never a bad thing. Let me throw some spreads in this, guys. I'll come back. I'll explain them. Give me like 3 seconds. And spreads are now in. Guys, I'm going to be honest. I took the Metagross spread from the team report. I think it is a very, very good spread. I didn't really see too many reasons to change anything like that. The only thing I am concerned about this is hitting at 105 here. I don't really know what speed Indeedys go for, but I know no speed Indeedee is at 105 unless they go with a negative nature. So that could be an odd speed tie in certain matchups. I don't think it's a really big deal. But I did want to mention it that maybe that's something I would change or modify. But overall, like I said, guys, I think this spread is very good. the one from the team report, so I am just going to take it. Gouging Fire is super, super basic here, guys. 164.44 is very nice for some Surging Strikes rolls from Scarf Urshifu or Sash Urshifu, let's just say. Like a non-boosting item, Water Bear. And then, of course, just you kind of want to go max speed. You really want to be getting these howls off, these breaking swipes off before anything else is capable of moving. So you definitely want to appreciate that. And then I just kind of did some attack and special defense dump, nothing crazy. Ogerpon, once again, guys, absolutely nothing ridiculous at all. Like I said, the 169 was going to outpace all the Landos. I crept it by 1 just because I felt like I could. 60 is going to guarantee most of the bulky Landorus's that I'm able to kill neutrally. I don't need to max. As long as I'm not at -1, I should be able to get the kill without a Terra, which is phenomenal. So like, as long as I'm neutral, I should be getting a kill on every Landorus, which is great. That's what you want to see. In terms of bulk, I just kind of dumped it into bulk. I really couldn't find much for this Ogerpon. Normally, I like my Ogerpons to live like, you know, the Banded E-Speed, but when Shenpao's on the board. However, in a case like this, I didn't think I needed it, right? With a Metagross on the team and a Fluttermane, I felt like that matchup could be tidied up with those two, as opposed to even bothering needing to have Ogerpon into that matchup or reliant on Ogerpon in that matchup, so I don't think we need it. Fluttermane, guys, you can put whatever specs Fluttermane spread you want. I chose to outpace the max speed Dondozos. I know it sounds really dumb, but it's all fun and games until max speed until you sit at 189 and you lose to max speed Dondozo Wave Crash. So it's all fun and games until then. And then other than that, just some general bulk. 204 is nice for, once again, the Surging Strikes rolls, which is why I put so much defense as opposed to HP and defense, like rather than splitting it evenly. Overall, you can, once again, any Fluttermane spread probably works in this regard. Shenpao, very simple. Maybe I should give it a nature, though. What do you guys think? Jolly, maybe? I don't think we have the speed control to go adamant here. Same with the Landers. You're going to see that be timid as well. Just there's not a huge amount of speed control on this team. In fact, there really is none, because let's be honest, I'm not clicking Icy Wind, right? So we want to be able to maybe, you know, be a little bit faster naturally, because we can't rely on Tailwind. Right, so here, same as well. Like I said, we're going to be timid max speed. You just want to be the faster Lando. We want to be faster than things that are like, oh, well, we're going to creep Modest Landorus. We need to be faster than that because we can't be Modest Landorus because we don't have Tailwind. Other than that, just 52.44 is very nice, consistent general bulk. And then you just max out special attack with what we have left. So overall, I'm looking forward to trying this team out. And let's see what we get. All right, we are kicking this one off with a little bit more of a hyper offense team. Just so you guys know, I did change to Terra Fairy on the Metagross. It felt a little more consistent because, long story short, this is like my 7th or 8th, if not 10th game. I've probably lost count with this team, and I've been trying to get matchups. Obviously, I've been playing stuff that I haven't been able to like showcase. A lot of just like kind of trickery teams and just not teams that are really part of the meta or close enough to the meta to showcase Metagross. So like I've been looking for a matchup like that, and Metagross was always following. It was so forced. Like I don't know, the dark move, the pin was too bad. So Fairy's gonna feel a little bit better, hopefully. But overall, I think I can just kind of go Metagross off rip into this. My biggest concern would be the TU. So maybe I'm supposed to have Metagross late and go something like Ogerpon is phenomenal. I definitely want to be on the field with Ogerpon in this matchup at some point. So maybe it's Shenpao Metagross, late game Ogerpon. And I still like Gouging Fire. I definitely am not against something like a Gouging Fire. I'm going to go Tornfish. Okay. I'm going to just Ice Spinner. And I'm going to drop the Terra Fairy and Tantrum into the TU. I think I've got to start getting consistent with my damage output here. They're going to Sunny Day. Torn is going to go down. That means it's going to be an ice heat wave here. I should not be dying with Metagross. Okay. That's fine. I am not like super happy, but that does mean this TU is actually not Scarf. So I'm going to actually protect here to keep my piece alive because I think Shenpao is very good to have alive. I'm going to bullet punch the Fluttermane. They might protect Flutter if they have the ability to do so, but if not, it's a very dead very dead Fluttermane. Wow, English is a tough language. But yes, very dead Fluttermane here. And now we've already seen that this TU isn't Scarfed, so I get to Ice Spinner into that position, right? Because they didn't Tailwind turn 1. And my Ice Spinner went first, so that's what I'm basing this off of. So we know they're not Scarfed. This should be a rather simple just Ice Spinner, and I think I Bullet Punch the Ogre Pawn. And if they go for redirection, I double up, it doubles up and kills the Ogre Pawn. I have no issues with that because Kiyu alone, despite getting that Heat Wave off here, does not get through this endgame. So I get to go Hornleech, and Heat Crash should finish that up, no problem. Beautiful. Moving on, we've got a little bit of an Ogre Pawn Cresselia team, which you don't see too often, but I think this is super relevant, right? Like, instant Fluttermane Water Pawn, phenomenal. We've seen Cresselia, a little bit of usage. Okidogi as well, as I mentioned earlier, picking up in usage. You're more so seeing it on those screens teams. But of course, same with that Moltres. You see them on the bulkier building of the teams. So it's a little bit of an interesting take, but I definitely think it's meta relevant enough to feature in this video. Metagross put in work last game. I think Metagross is also going to be very good here. My biggest concern is going to be I don't know if this is going to be Thunderwave Fluttermane or not. So I definitely want to go like Gouging Fire Metagross. Like the concept of that in theory works here phenomenally. I love Ogre Pawn late game, and I think I'm supposed to have a Fluttermane just because I need to pressure the Moltres. So they're going to go Ogre Flutter themselves. We're both speed booster. I think I'm going to Howl. I'm just going to Howl Heavy Slam and like tell them to figure it out. Like, that's fine. Once again, I can't get slowed down, right? So my Metagross is already in a position where I am terrifying this Ogre Pawn. Like, that is a resisted hit, and I just did 71% to it, right? So that actually puts it in range of a Heat Crash now. And, I might just send the Bullet Punch into the Fluttermane and Howl again. No, I'm going to Heavy Slam again. I'm going to do it again. Like, go ahead and follow me here. They can Shadow Ball. I'm AV. I'm not dying. We saw that they were Speed Booster. I'll get the +2. I'll get the Heavy Slam off. They have no redirection. And now I have Bullet Punch. Unless, of course, they're going to pressure Okidogi, which becomes a little more concerning than not. Because they could upper hand, right? And if they upper hand and I flinch, it's a problem. I'm just going to send a Heat Crash, though, into the Fluttermane. Like, I think if I just double Fluttermane, they can't really stop that. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, they're going to give me the Bullet Punch. Obviously not crazy into Cresselia, but that damage, on the other hand, is perfectly fine. So, I don't mind that. That's a good turn. It's much better. Like, obviously, I would have loved to kill the Fluttermane, but I have no real complaints about this because I get to walk in with Fluttermane and click Heat Crash, Terra Fairy, Dazzling Gleam, and I think we should have this game now. Like, because they switched out, there's really not much they can do. They no longer have that booster, so there's a chance my Flutter's faster, because I should be faster than most of the booster Flutters here. Dazzling Gleam is going to come out, Heat Crash is going to kill the dog, and that's going to be that game. A little bit of an outdated team here with the Ting-Lu, Dozo, Gouging Fire stuff, but definitely an interesting mirror that I don't mind showcasing. So, this is going to have to be a Landorus type of game. Like, Lando Ogre Pawn really needs to excel in this matchup. I also really need to have Fluttermane. So I think I'm going to go Lando Ogre Pawn Fluttermane Metagross just because I want to force Metagross in. There's a world where I do go Gouging Fire. There's also a world where Shenpao is a very good breaker. So there's a lot of things I could go for here. But first off, I'm just going to scout. I want to see which way you're going to go about this. Not having Substitute here is going to be a little more annoying than not. But this lead effectively should be forcing a Terra on their end, which is the key thing that I'm going for with it. Right? By going Ting-Lu Dozo, we get to see if there's a Terra. They're going to opt to say, I don't need the Terra, and they're going to protect and try to ruinate. Okay, so that I am super fine with. I'm going to drop a... I think it's just Ivy Cudgel Earth Power into Ting-Lu. I think it's one of the more consistent options I have. Obviously, I could see the Ting-Lu protect. We saw the Dozo protect, right? So should I double the Dozo? Possibly. But do I have potential to capitalize on Ting-Lu staying on the board? Also very much so, yes. That Ting-Lu took nothing from that Ivy Cudgel. So they're not going to be enough to get a kill here, but still good damage nonetheless. So now they should Terra Normal E-Speed. Once again, I'm just going to double protect. This lead gives me the ability to scout very much so with this team, which I think is something that's not talked about enough, right? I can only assume Banded D-Knight, right? So now I get to scout which way they want to approach this. If they go Terra Normal, I'm probably... No Terra. So what are we going to see? Outrage? What are we looking at clicking? Protect on Ting-Lu is fair. And they're going to lock Ironhead. So maybe with an Ironhead shown, they're not banded. And if they're not banded, that gives me... I'm going to Horn Leech to Ting-Lu now because I shouldn't waste the Terra on an 18 HP Mon. And I'm going to Sludge Bomb into the Dragonite. The Ting-Lu is low enough that I don't care. That Fluttermane can kill it later. So now I get the Sludge Bomb into D-Knight. I've punished the switch in to the Dozo as well with a Horn Leech. So, but now the problem is they're faster. I have Bullet Punch. I'm really not concerned. I'm going to go Horn Leech here. I think it's just Horn Leech and Sludge Bomb. Like, I'm just going to take my damage. Like, I'm going to get damage on one of these two pieces. And I think that is a phenomenal option for me. That's fine. Once again, Horn Leech coming out. Going to get me some really good damage here. A little bit of health back as well. Sludge Bomb comes down. I don't care. And Yawn into the Ogerpon. I'm going to pivot Metagross on the field. It's a very good switch in right now. And I'm going to protect because I don't really want... Actually, if I lose Landorus, that's better for me. Yeah, let me lose Landorus here. I don't mind losing Lando. And if they leave Lando, I'll Earth Power the Dozo. That's fine. Yep, that's fine. So by bringing Fluttermane in, this now locks Dragonite into trying to click E-Speed to do anything because my Bullet Punch is pressuring a KO. So I pressure the KO there with the Bullet Punch, and Specs Dazzling Gleam will be killing this Dondozo. So I'm just going to send Dazzling Gleam Bullet Punch. They really can't cover that. Well, Fluttermane sucks. Update, Fluttermane sucks. I will accept the sleep turn because if they switch out, they lose their defenses. So as much as I don't want to do this, I think I kind of have to do this anyways. Could have also Terra Fairy, but if I Terra Fairy and they E-Speed, it gets ugly. Long story short. They're going to give me the D-Knight though? Terra Steel. Alright, why didn't they just do that last turn? That's my bad, guys. I needed to cover for that. If I lose this, which I almost certainly will at this point, this is bad. This was on me. Got the Scale Shot turn. They're going to Heat Crash. Shouldn't do too much because Metagross is pretty heavy, which is nice. So I need to wake up is what I need to do. So I can Terra Fairy Bullet Punch. And then I need to start dropping Ivy Cudgels into Gouging. This is winnable if Metagross can wake up. Okay, Metagross. Alright, Metagross Gaming. They can howl. They're howling up for not a lot. And Ivy Cudgel comes on out. Obviously, howl and they are boosting. It does get a little concerning. Heavy Slam is base 40 into both. You don't see that too often. I think what I want to do is I do want to Spiky Shield again. The problem is I can't have this become just an Ogerpon endgame. So I almost want to have to cudgel the Ting-Lu and just say Gouging Fire and I'll just Tantrum into it. I worry that they're going to Burning Bulwark, but I don't really have another choice. They just Heat Crash, not going to get a KO. Horn Leech going to go into Ting-Lu for a KO. They were Rocky Helmet, that's fine. And Tantrum into Gouging, not quite a KO, but more than enough damage to what we want, and we're going to get the win there. So that was close, that was scary, but Metagross was able to get that done. Best of 3 time. We're going to get an immediate hard Trick Room team, and I actually think this is a really bad matchup for the team. I think we have tools, but I definitely don't think it's like a fantastic matchup. So there's 2 things we can do here. One, we can do the funny, and that would be if I think they're going to lead in DD Hatterene, I could technically go Terra Fairy, Dazzling Gleam, Sandsear, Storm, and pick up both KOs. And I might try that game 1. I then have Ogerpon late. And because if I'm denying Trick Room, Ogerpon late. Actually, if I'm denying Trick Room, Shenpao Gouging is the correct endgame. Yeah. If I actually manage to deny Trick Room, having Shenpao and D-Knight in the endgame is correct. We'll have to see. No protect on this booster flutter either, which is very good to know. We can capitalize on that. They do go flutter TU, which is not ideal. Because they just get to go like Icy Wind Heat Wave now, and I'm kind of cooked. So this is just has to pivot into gouging and has to protect. There's no other line. They can Icy Wind. I'm sacrificing my speed. Oh, they snarl. Them locking snarl is actually really annoying there, because I don't think that gets through what they want it to get through. But obviously in a position like this, it's going to work for him, you know? I'm going to stance here if I get it. I won't, but I'm going to go for it. Okay. Makes sense. I don't think I'm winning this one anymore, because now they can just actually Moonblast and... Yeah, no, this is kind of cooked. They Icy Wind. They're going to Snarl, which is like annoying, but maybe there's a world we can win this still if Gleam still does enough to flutter, but it's not doing enough to flutter. So this is my only choice. They have to go Icy Wind Snarl again. I need it not to kill, and then I need to lock into Sucker Punch into the TU. And that's how I win this game. Unfortunately, it's not really much of a win con. Okay, they're locked into Snarl. Maybe I can Sucker Punch there and hope they miss. They're actually going to switch, so I don't even get the Sucker Punch off. Which, alright. So that was my bad. For not bringing Water Pawn on lead. But I really do like the concept of, had they gone for the Trick Room stuff, like I would have just been able to remove both immediately and we would have been gaming. So, I don't know. I'll go Ogre Pawn. I'll play a little bit more consistent. Like, Ogre Pawn gouging covers that lead phenomenally. That's fine. I don't think I can really get away with Metagross here. I think it has to be... Is it Flutter Lando? Maybe it is Metagross. It's not bad. Yeah, maybe it's Metagross Shenpao. Let's try that. I still like Shenpao for Sucker Punch stuff. And they are going to go for this again. I'm killing here. Like, if this is their lead, I'm going to scout for the TU move, and then I'll make my decision from there. They should lock, like, Snarl or something. But based on what we see, I'll just pick my move accordingly. They do tear a Ghost, which is very nice. And they lock Dark Pulse Moonblast, so they're looking to bully the Ogre Pawn slot. Honestly, I have Sucker Punch into that fish, even Ice Spin into that fish. I really want to get rid of Pow. So I'm going to Terra Water, and I hope it's going to allow me to survive. And I'm going to double up into the no protect available Flutter Mane and see if that's enough to cook this. They do switch to Icy Wind, which is exactly what I expected. I think they still go after Ogre Pawn here, but we could be wrong. Gouging Fire going to survive because Gouging Fire is goated. Going to give me a little bit of health back on Ogre Pawn as well. So now they're going to Trick Room. So what they're going to do here is, I'm going to leave TU on the field is what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to Heat Crash Cudgel and see if I can kill the Indeedee. If they hard switch TU, it's a very good play. But something tells me they don't want to hard switch TU. So they're going to Dark Pulse. I get an Ivy Cudgel off. It does kill the Indeedee. And now there's no Trick Room for them, which is phenomenal. Hatterene comes in. I'm here with the POW. The TU can't protect. I get to go Horn Leech for some health. And Ice Spinner to kill the fish. Yeah, there's no win con here. This is always GG. They burnt their Terra too early. It's good to know, though, that Heat Crash is one-shotting that Flutter Mane. It's not always a consistent option, especially on some of the bulkier ones. So having that be an option going into game 2 is very nice. They can Trick Room. Like, I don't care. Cool. I should have protected just so Metagross could hit the board. I still like Metagross here. I really do think they're going to go for a hard Trick Room approach this time. So do I risk the entire game? Actually, Metagross kind of is the neutral option there, right? Like Metagross Ogerpon technically is neutral enough because I could just drop, like if I get it wrong and they go Flutter to you, I have Terra Fairy Spiky Shield and just drop a Heavy Slam. I pressure Bullet Punch. I pressure a lot. I pressure Tantrum into the fish. There's a lot of things that I get away with there. So like that's actually not the worst thing I've ever seen. I like Shenpao for sure. And then for the Torkoal stuff, it's normally Gouging Fire. It does have a good matchup spread into this, as much as I want Lando. Well, there's the hard Trick Room mode. So I got that part. Not quite the way I would have liked to have gotten that part. But let's see. How do we want to play this? They're going to follow me Trick Room because they can't let Heavy Slam happen. So I'm going to Heavy Slam if they let me. And I'm going to hard pivot into Shenpao, I think. I think this should be a safe switch into my Sash piece. I don't think Heavy Slam is going to one-shot the Indeedee. And that should allow me to get through turn. There's no Trick Room. Or there is going to be a Trick Room, but they're going to let... That's smart play. Okay. This is still okay because I'm sashed on the Shenpao. They do bring in Torkoal. So there's a few ways I can play this, right? Seeing the Torkoal, I think the best option for me is to protect and cycle into Gouging Fire. That's what I couldn't get to, though. This is the turn that I couldn't have happen. I needed to not have these guys be on the field at the same time. And unfortunately, I've now let them have that position. So that was a really good play on their end and a really, I don't want to say bad play on my end, but I've definitely had, you know, better plays. This is still winnable. So they're going to Eruption Headlong. They have to kill Gouge. They have to kill both, and they can't really do that. So I think what I do is can they kill both? They could Eruption Earthquake to kill both, which I don't think really kills both without taking out their Torkoal, so I don't think we're gonna see it. They do Headlong, but really wish I would have just left Gouging Fire up, because now Gouging Fire is not in a great spot. So they would have just lost to the Terra. I guess they covered. They had long. I don't want to protect because protect does not help me here. I want to be able to force them into gouging. If they Earthquake to kill both, protect. I don't think they're gonna Earthquake. I'm just gonna Spinner the Luna. I really don't think they're Earthquaking here. I don't think they can afford to kill their own Torkoal. I really just can't see them taking out their own Torkoal. Okay, that's good. Ice Spinner comes out, does remove the terrain, which gives me a little bit of an interesting spot now. Because what should happen is Indeedee should hit the field. If I can somehow punish that, this isn't terrible. Terra Fairy Heavy Slam Protect. If Metagross survives the turn, we can win. The problem is, I don't think they're ever going to let Metagross survive the turn. Like, they should always just Headlong Rush and kill the Metagross here. Like, I don't think there's ever a world... Like, it's always swap into Indeedee and kill the Metagross, right? I don't think there's a world where I get around that. I'm going to try. And it's not like I can take out my own Shenpao to cover for that. They swapped Indeedee on that side? I guess? Okay, that's just me not being familiar with the Trick Room matchup. They played that well. This game's over. There's no point. Yeah, that was me. That was me. I was bad game 1 and arguably a bad game 3, but not much we can do about that. All right, the team was cool. I mean, I think Terra Fairy Metagross was definitely better than the initial build on the Terra Dragon that we had when we were building the team. But overall, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it was Metagross's fault, if that makes sense. I actually think Gouging Fire Shenpao really took a hit in the metagame right now and just isn't that good. Like, when I was able to position Ogerpon, Metagross, and Fluttermane, those guys were doing their job. They were phenomenal. I actually think it's like the other three that were the problem with this team. So I'm gonna give Metagross the benefit of the doubt. I did see some good things. Like when we got the +1 and +2, we were winning games. I just don't think Gouging Fire is in a spot in the metagame right now that we're gonna be able to get that off, at least with this current build, right? So the concept of the team that I was going for really didn't get executed. So we'd look, if I was gonna adapt, I'd probably take that apart and be like, okay, well, I'm not getting to that spot, so let's get Gouging Fire off the board. Let's rework some of this team. I don't know exactly what we'd go for, but in all honesty, guys, that team that I showcased at the beginning of the video is probably the best Metagross team in the format. So if you're strictly and your sole concept is Metagross, I definitely would look into that team for sure. Overall, this was a ton of fun. Like, I don't know, it's fun to see things that like a little bit of a different style approach, right? Now, obviously, Metagross and Howl didn't end up working out, but it was fun and it was worth a shot. I think there was like a little bit of thought process there and it kind of could have worked. It just didn't. But guys, if you guys do enjoy this type of content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And of course, I really do appreciate it. But with that, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all so much for watching and I will catch you all in a future video.